Good evening. I'm Kelly Wright. Thanks for joining me as we spend this next hour together. As always, I am hoping that you're safe and well, taking care of yourself and your families because you matter. My opening observations tonight, all eyes are looking at what's happening in Wisconsin. There is cause for great concern about the violence that's erupted there, causing the loss of life. All of this stemming, of course, from another police shooting of an unarmed Black man, Jacob Blake, who is in a hospital at this hour, still in intensive care, and facing perhaps a life of paralysis, unless there's some chance for a miracle that he can walk again. Here's what's happening, though. You put this against the backdrop of the racial violence that has unfolded in America, the systemic racism that people have talked about here in America since the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Rayshard Brooks. It's just going on, and it's too much for many people to bear. We'll see tonight through the eyes of one man who was pardoned last night by the President of the United States for crimes of his past, a Black man, talking to us tonight on this program. And he says that his accomplishments in life are because of his faith in God. And perhaps that's where we need to start as a nation, to humble ourselves and pray that we can have God forgive us of our sins towards each other and heal our land. And those are my opening observations. Welcome back to the program. So the RNC last night unfolded the land of opportunity. And in doing that, the President of the United States, prior to the launch of last night's second night of the RNC, gave this man a pardon, John Ponder. Now, John Ponder, I know him as being the founder and the president of Hope for Prisoners, which is a vital reentry program that he launched in Las Vegas, Nevada. It impacted the state. But last night, he got a surprise from the President of the United States. Watch this.
2 years ago, I was honored to tell John Ponder's story of transformation in the Rose Garden on the National Day of Prayer. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome him back to the White House. John's life is a beautiful testament to the power of redemption. So now I'd like to invite John's wife, Jamie, to join us as I grant John, I'm not sure you know this, a full pardon.
And so joining me now is John Ponder. John, I should say congratulations. And what did it feel like to have the President of the United States give you a pardon for your past?
And words cannot describe the surprise and the tremendous honor for the president to grant me the pardon.
And you were pardoned for your crimes in the past, which was, well, you tell me about it and how you received a breakthrough to discover that you were capable of doing more than being incarcerated.
Right. Well, the pardon came from a lifelong of criminal history. And you know what made the transformation for me, I'll never forget. I stood in a prison cell and I asked Jesus to be the Lord of my life, to come in and turn my life around, and 100% he did. And that turned my life in a 180-degree turn in the other direction. It really started working on me while I was in prison, and took a deep dive into trying to discover who I am, because I spent a lifetime not knowing who I was, and wanted to know more and more about God. And the more and more I began to understand about God, the more and more I began to understand me, and the fact that I am who my God says that I am, and I can do the things that He has called me to do.
You know, John, that's a remarkable story, and I recall a scripture out of 2 Corinthians, which basically states that when you come to know Christ, the old passes away, you become brand new, a new creation. Before, in your old life, you were a known criminal, a bank robber, and now you have this new life. Tell me what you've been able to do in the newness and the freshness and the transformation of your life.
Sure. And, once I began to transform my life, God had implanted in me just this burning desire to turn right back around and help other men and women who were in bondage to the same thing that I was in bondage to while I was in prison. God impregnated me with this vision of hope for prisoners, to help men and women and young adults that are exiting different arenas of our judicial system, to wrap services around them, to give them the supportive services that they need, and be able to escort them up out of, that lifestyle to a brand new vista of life.
And so as a result of launching Hope for Prisoners, you've been doing that for what now, 10 years now?
Yeah, we've been doing it since over the last 10 years, and we have had the privilege to serve over 3,400 men and women who have been through our process, and it's been just a tremendous honor and a privilege to be able to work with the people that God has entrusted us to.
John, what's remarkable about your story is that you also you developed a close friendship with someone who arrested you. That is remarkable in and of itself. The FBI agent, tell me about that friendship and how it was kindled, and how beneficial it has been to see two men from opposite sides of the law and perhaps opposite sides politically, yet coming together to form a bond that has continued on now.
I tell the story of my first interaction with Richard Beasley, him being a law enforcement agent and me being on the other side of the track. It was something about Richard's demeanor when he walked into that room, his every interaction with me. It was something very different about him. I did not know it at the time, but I later learned that, he had a relationship with Jesus, and I believe that it was Jesus on the inside of him that was, that was reflective on the outside. And pretty much from that day, my perceptions of law enforcement officers had begun to change. I always tell people all the time, Kelly, that, if you ever think about how close that word enemy comes to the inner me, right? And I spent a lifetime fighting the enemies on the outside until I took a look at the enemies that were laying dormant on the inner me. And once Jesus helped me to conquer the enemies on the inner me, the enemies on the outside disappeared. So I began to look at Richard Beasley, not for the law enforcement person that he is, not for the person who put, handcuffs on me and arrested me. I saw behind that and saw him for the person that God had created him to be. And since that day, he and I, and to this day, are very, very dear friends. He has been with me on this entire journey and has been such a huge source of support and encouragement on this journey.
Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, imagine while you were serving time in that jail cell, in that prison, did you ever see yourself, John, standing next to the President of the United States on a national platform the night of an RNC convention, being told by the President of the United States that you were pardoned of everything?
Could have never, ever, ever seen it coming.
And from that standpoint, it doesn't matter about the politics and all this. What matters is that you were recognized. And I think based on what you're saying, I can't put words in your mouth, but it seems like you were recognized more for your faith in overcoming insurmountable odds at one time. You beat the odds because of your faith. And now you're recognized by the President of the United States. And what would be your message to most Americans who find themselves battling so many things, the coronavirus, the inequities in life, and the racial disparities? What would be your message to America?
I want to send a message out to all Americans, particularly those who have criminal backgrounds, those folks who are formerly incarcerated, and to my brothers and sisters who are still incarcerated. If you take a look at, my testimony, my life story, and how God had turned my life around, in the work that's being done over the past 10 years since my release, and that being recognized by this president, should be an encouraging message to all folks in America to understand that we live in a land of second chances, right? There are opportunities for redemption. There is opportunity for forgiveness if folks work hard and keep their boots on the ground and keep striving to live out the American dream. What happened to me is not anything as a respect of a person. It can happen to anyone.
John, it's quite an amazing story. Obviously, we'll be following up with you. I'm delighted to have you on this program. And again, congratulations for being pardoned. But more importantly, John, thank you for bringing some inspiration in a time that is needed to show that all things are possible. You can come from the dregs of society, you can come from prison, and still aspire to greatness and achieve that greatness based on your faith, hope, and love. And I just appreciate you, sir, for stopping by to share your story with us. As you go forward with Hope for Prisoners, what's next for this organization?
You know, it's been a whirlwind of the past couple of days. So I'm going to get back home and really sit down and think about next steps. I know there are other opportunities, not only in our state, but to be able to, take our model and to spread it across the country to help other formerly incarcerated people, to help bridge the gap between law enforcement and communities across this country based on the model that we built up with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We really do feel that we have a solution that could be exported into communities across the country.
I know you've got to go, but you're talking to me from the White House today. Is your message to we know that the Trump administration has a program about reentry. I've spoken to Pastor Tony Loudon, who's a friend of yours, and of course he understands the reentry program since he's director of that for the President of the United States. These are things that America needs to know about, the fact that there are activities going on for criminal justice reform. And when we see it in your story and the power of your story, it's wonderful. So what's your message to the President of the United States? And is he supporting your efforts to bring more prisoners out of incarceration so they have a reentry program that causes them not to have recidivism, but a life of productivity?
Right. Well, the president has always been supportive of our initiatives, particularly with the First Step Act, and then with Second Chance Employers. I think that we're in a really good place in our country, that where formerly incarcerated people are going to be able to receive the support that they need in order for them to be successful and gain full-time employment and sustainable wage jobs so they can take care of themselves and take care of their family. I have had wonderful conversations with Pastor Tony Loudon about some things that are happening in the DOJ. So again, it's a very exciting time for us, as a reentry community, and a very exciting time for us, as a country.
John, I'm going to ask you, how does this impact Black men and brown men who unfortunately are disproportionately incarcerated?
Well, I think that, again, if people take a look at my story, I am an African-American man, a proud American citizen, a person who is formerly incarcerated, who have come up out of that lifestyle. And again, if it can happen to me, take a look at my testimony, and I hope that it is encouraging to all Americans that it can be done and can be achieved.
Very good. John, I'm glad you're mentoring young men and women to help them re-enter society, to become productive in all that they do, and to get beyond their past and make sense of their present and have a future and a hope. Appreciate you, John Ponder. And again, congratulations. God bless you.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
That's John Ponder. Off of the fresh news, the good news that he's pardoned by the President of the United States. A story worth talking about here on the Kelly Wright Show. We'll be back with more after this.